everybody. This is Gary Vaynerchuk, host of Wine Library TV, a.k.a. WLTV, and this is BBQ Central.
In a world permeated with barbecue websites under the control of tyrannical administrators, there was one man, a one-man army. He broke all the rules. He allowed his members to speak out, give their opinions, and make the website what it is today. Get ready for Greg Rempe and the Barbecue Central Show.
Live from Cleveland, Ohio, it's the Barbecue Central Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Barbecue Central Show. Yeah, it's the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling, originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. In many circles, among secret societies, rapidly becoming known as the barbecue capital of the North Coast. Happy to have you aboard here on a Wednesday. A great show planned for you. But if you want to jump in on the show tonight, you're more than welcome to do so. And here is your contact information. If you are inclined to get in touch with me, toll-free 800 number 877-448-0433. You can also email the show, Greg at the bbqcentralshow.com. That's the two ways to get in touch with the show. Maybe you're wondering what's happening. Let me set you up a little bit so you can see what's on tap here for the next hour and 58 minutes or so. Coming up in about 14 minutes, you're going to be joined by a friend of the show. He'll be making his second appearance on the live show. This will be his third appearance overall since the inception of the podcast almost 5 years ago now. Meathead Goldwyn. Some people call him Craig, only very few people. His real name is Meathead. And he is the founder and creator of one of the most populated websites ever on the face of the interwebs called AmazingRibs.com. Craig is going to be coming on to shock the barbecue and grilling world. He knows that this medium, that being the Barbecue Central radio show, is the exact place to come on and shock people of all makes and models when it comes to barbecue and grilling. So look for Craig Goldwyn. Actually, he's going to be so good. I've actually thought that, he's going to be so good, I'm going to hold him over for another segment. So feel free to check that out. And on top of talking about all of the good stuff that he's looking to get into, basically, what's barbecue, what's grilling? What does it mean? What do we talk about when we're saying it? What do those things exactly take into account? Can these terms be used interchangeably? I, of course, have a potentially radical, we don't know what he's going to say yet. Wait until he gets on the air. But, of course, have my own view on what these things are. These, as I've said in the past, I've done video montages on these things. That would be, these terms are not interchangeable. It's not the same thing. You're not barbecuing at a grill. You're not grilling at a barbecue. Two distinct cooking methods. And Craig will be coming on to argue his side of the case, or at least make his points. And being the proper moderator, should his insight become a little sketchy, a little leery at points, I'll be more than happy to interject and point out where his incorrectness is and where we should all be looking at, or at least coming to some type of overall conclusion. That'll be coming up next segment. And then again, we'll hold him over for the third segment, and we'll talk more with Meathead, probably about searing, the reverse sear method. He was also writing a recurring column or a weekly column with the Huffington Post in regards to Season 2 of Barbecue Pitmasters. Now that show has run its course, we'll get his insight as to how that show transpired as a whole, if he thinks that it will have life in some type of third season on TLC as well. So always a great guest, always a lot to say, and very accomplished. Wine critic, food critic, professional photographer, you name it. Craig Goldwyn has it underneath his I've Done That belt buckle. And again, his website that he is most known for in our circles, AmazingRibs.com. Doesn't get simpler than that. Last week, gang, for your chance to win an $80 Luftlighter for free. That's right. Good folks over at luftusa.com have ponied up. Now, this week, we'll make 4 Luftlighters. If my math is correct, 4 times 80, carry the 3, $758 million in free Luftlighters over the last month. And again, this will be the last week that you can win a free Luftlighter. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned all the way to the 4-segment free-for-all hosted by none other than Hall of Fame broadcaster Harry Carey. On top of the Luftlighter, should time allow, we have many other prizes to give away, to include Frog Mats, El Capitan Santa Maria-style barbecue seasoning, wood smoke products from Greenleaf Barbecue, Cosmos Q injection packs and soaks, and a new wild game rub from the good folks over at Easy Hooks. So a completely loaded out prize closet, and that'll be jumping off right around 10 till the hour. And of course, we have the ever-succulent second hour, better known as the After Dark segment, and I figured why not change it up even more? Next 2 weeks, going to be doing the show on remote, possibly, and figured we would just completely jack up the traditional format of the second hour tonight and go round table on that ass. And what we've done, we're actually going to be taking it away from the traditional barbecue side. We're going to go right to the high heat of the grill and do a steak round table. Who doesn't love a great steak? I know I love a great steak. Big meat fans here. So we will go over steak in its entirety. I've assembled a three-member panel to talk steak from actual beginning. Well, not from raising the heifer itself, but, you know, when you go to the store, how you buy it, what you're looking for, how to prep it, how to cook it, how to rest it, good stuff to eat with it, wine suggestions, beer, alcohol suggestions. The panel will be talking passionately and excitedly about steak, bovine, or what other nickname you have for beef. I like beef, beefola, beefinator. So that'll be the second hour, the complete second hour, or as long as it takes, because it's a different format. Steak Roundtable. If you have questions about steak, go ahead and email them in, greg@thebbqcentralshow.com. And again, the toll-free phone number, if you want to jump in, 877-448-0433. That's what's happening on your show tonight. Wanted to make a quick mention to my good friend over at Tippy Canoe Barbecue. That's Joe Beeland. Joe, as you can see, for at least the folks on Vocal, I'm wearing the Tippy Canoe Barbecue, the Tippy Canoe Barbecue Crew t-shirt, tippycanoebbq.com. And then on the back it says, Tippy Who? I wore it out in the street the other day, and somebody pulled me aside and said, who's Tippy Who? And I just turned around and I said, well, of course, it's Tippy Canoe Barbecue Crew. Schmuck, now beat it. So thanks to Joe Beeland over there, one of the major forces to be reckoned with out there from the great booming barbecue state of Iowa, taking the world by storm for competition cooking teams. So I appreciate the t-shirt. Told you I would wear it, get it up there on the video feed, and I've done my due diligence, Joe. And again, it fits great, looks great, got a lot of great comments on it. So head on over to tippycanoebbq.com and pick yourself up a shirt. You won't be sorry that you did. And there you go. And again, Vocal up and running this week. Go to the Barbecue Central Radio Network homepage and check out that live video feed if that interests you at all. Perhaps there's a large majority of you that probably doesn't interest you at all to see me actually doing the radio show live, which is fine by me. Just listening to it is thanks enough. You can sign in a multitude of ways. If you have a Twitter account, you can sign in that way. A Facebook account, you can sign in that way. You just sign up for a free Vocal account. It doesn't matter. Take part in the chat. You can ask questions. I'll be checking that from time to time. It's a great new way to interact with the show and with some of the other listeners and fans of the show as well. There you go. 877-448-0433. greg@thebbqcentralshow.com. Quick reminder of the good folks over at the Barbecue Guru, makers of automatic pin temperature control devices And really, when it comes down to it, as you go back through the annals of barbecue revolutions and evolutions, the Barbecue Guru is the company that started making automatic pin temperature control devices. So why would you go anywhere else? These guys have all the know-how. They have all of the work behind them, and their product is proven over and over again in the backyard. And, of course, in competitions, they are the reserve grand champions from the 2010 Jack Daniels. TheBBQGuru.com or 800-288-GURU is the way to get in touch. We'll be back with Meathead Goldwind. Hang on after this. Stand by.
Listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show.
Barbecue fans travel from all over the country and the world to learn the secrets of real pit barbecue from Grand Champion Pitmaster Conrad Haskins. Now take your skills to the next level with a Barbecue Institute Pitmaster class. You'll learn how to make sauces, rubs, and smoke mouth-watering barbecue every time you cook. Your new skills will impress friends and family. Internet forums, blogs, and Facebook are full of success stories from our graduates. Upcoming classes locations include Rock City Rib Fest, Rochester, New York, Lexington, Massachusetts, Lang Factory Test Kitchen in Georgia, Fort Worth, Texas, Fredericksburg, Texas, Houston, Texas, Monroe, Washington, and Kennewick, Washington. For more information, class dates, and contests we'll be competing in, visit www.bbqclass.com. That's bbqclass.com.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Radio Network studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back, 14 past the hours, the Barbecue Central Radio Show. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here, 877-448-0433. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. This portion of the show brought to you by Yoder's Smoky Mountain Barbecue, the leading online retailer of Meadow Creek barbecue equipment. Their barbecue smokers and grills are handcrafted in the Amish country of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and helping you enjoy easy and profitable barbecues for years to come. Visit SeriousBBQs.com for more information. You won't be sorry that you did. Also offering a complete line of rubs and sauces, too, so check that out. All right, as promised, joining me now, a man that owns one of the hotly trafficked websites when it comes to anything related to barbecue and grilling, and ready to shock the world tonight. So we'll go ahead and race over to the hotline and welcome in friend of the show. It's Craig Goldwood, Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. Meathead, how are you tonight?
I'm great, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, Craig, and I appreciate you taking time out for the show tonight. And we're going to be talking about some things that might shake the literary foundations of the barbecue world. But before we get into that, maybe for the people that aren't as familiar with your work and what you've done on the internet and the blog and the website that you keep, how about a little background about you, maybe just even in the food service industry as a general thing, and then how that kind of morphed into the AmazingRibs.com deal?
I'm just a barbecue guy. Daddy owned a restaurant. I've been cooking all my life. I got into a spitting match with a neighbor over who makes the best ribs one day and started researching the subject and launched a website. And 6 years later, it's ranked in one of the top 100 food websites in the country by ComScore, which is one of the rating services. And I think it's the leading barbecue website by all the stats I've seen. I'm just a eater and a drinker and a cooker.
So pretty much like all the rest of us, right?
That's exactly.
Craig, Meathead Goldwyn joining us here on the show. So Meathead, when Amazing Rib comes out, did you want to have it just geared towards rib, or did you knew at that point it was really going to be more of a broader scoped theme of things when it came to the world of barbecue and grilling?
I wanted to just focus on ribs, but I've been grilling and smoking and cooking outdoors all my life, and it just kind of morphed. And I mean, it's got all kinds of stuff. I just published an article on potato pancakes today, but most everything on the website is related to outdoor cooking. I have a firm belief that anything you can cook indoors, you can cook outdoors, and you can cook it better out there.
There you go. Meathead Goldwyn joining us. And again, the website, in case you've never happened to come across it, AmazingRibs.com. All right, Meathead, for the balance of this segment, I've always been a firm believer, and I've done some video portions in regards to the subject matter we're about to cover, and I guess in the grand scheme of things, it's probably going to weigh out to personal belief, personal opinion, and as you know as well as I do, barbecue people are creatures of habit. My cooker's better than yours, my thoughts are better than yours, so on and so forth. But what did you want to talk about tonight? Go ahead and kind of make your opening statement, and we'll push forward from there.
Well, I think what we had discussed was we were going to debate the topic. So I want to put forth the proposal that when people tell other folks that that's not barbecue, that's grilling, that they just sound like wine snobs. And it just is wrong from a culinary standpoint, a linguistic standpoint, and a historical standpoint. And I want to set the record straight and just make folks who grill hamburgers and hot dogs out there feel comfortable with the fact that what they're doing is barbecue. And I want these barbecue snobs, particularly of the KCBS variety, to get off the high horses and come down to reality and understand that barbecue is a big word and it encompasses many different styles of cooking, among them grilling.
All right, so obviously I would take great issue with exactly what you've just said. So
good.
Let's go ahead and can you not differentiate? These are not two different cooking methods. Where does the logic come in to say your grilling is barbecue, your barbecue is not grilling, so on and so forth?
Well, let's look at it from a historical standpoint first. Then we can look at it from a culinary standpoint. And if you want, we can look at it from a linguistic standpoint. But starting from a historical standpoint, people have been cooking over fire since the beginning of time. It was probably the first method of cooking. Barbecue folks like to go out and say, well, barbecue was the first method of cooking. Well, probably the cavemen first threw their hunks of meat right on the coals. Is that barbecue or is that grilling? You can't have it both ways now, folks. If it's grilling, then you can't go around saying barbecue is the first method of cooking. Now, the word barbacoa is the root word from which barbecue is derived. It's a Caribbean Indian word, and it comes from a method of cooking that Caribbean Indians used that the Spaniards discovered when they came here. And the barbacoa was actually a device. It was just like a crib, a wooden rack that they put meat on. And sometimes the heat was hot, and sometimes it was cold. Sometimes the meat smoked. Sometimes it cooked hot. And it was a method of cooking, but it wasn't really too different from what they'd been doing in Europe for centuries. They've been cooking over fire and smoke in Europe for centuries. Now, the KCBS and the competition barbecue crowd who like to go around differentiating between barbecue and grilling, what they really are doing is they're cooking in a metal device that's closed off, usually using indirect heat, not direct heat. It's not radiant heat, it's convection heat.
Right.
And they're using smoke. And this is really technically, from a culinary standpoint, called smoke roasting. Now, that is a method of cooking, just like braising is a method of cooking and boiling is a method of cooking. And it bears less resemblance to what the Caribbean Indians who invented barbacoa are doing, or open pit barbecue, which is what the slaves did, which is the root of contemporary American barbecue, than it does to the clay ovens they used in Greece or Turkey or the tandoors of India. Those were closed environments. A clay oven, a tandoor in India, heck, a Big Green Egg is a lot like an Indian tandoor. Even a New England clam bake where you bury the clams under sand is a closed environment. The early methods of American barbecue, or at least slave cooking, was the open pit, dig a hole in the ground. That's the origin of where we are today. So competition barbecue bears no resemblance to the early history of barbecue.
But what does history have to do with anything, Craig? Let's throw all of that to the side, all of these other countries. Who cares what other countries are doing? We're American. We only care about ourselves, and that's the only thing that's right. Now, here's what I'm talking about. I think perhaps where, and I'm going to agree with you on a number of items that you brought up. To me, it's more about temperature of the environment that you're cooking in. You have an indirect heat. It's got wood for wood smoke, and it is held between. Now, I'm talking just in a more traditional barbecue sense. I know now when you talk about competition barbecue, it is a different monster because even at that point, we're going to be arguing about, well, are they technically barbecuing? Because a lot of these guys are now cooking hot and fast or the power method or however you want to term it now.
Go ahead and focus on heat.
But with heat, let's say between 200 to 250 degrees is widely accepted to be barbecue temperatures. It's indirect heat, and it's done over a long period of time with traditionally bigger cuts of meat.
Let's go to Smitty's in Lockhart, Texas, or to Cozy Corner in Memphis, or Dreamland in Alabama. Barbecue joints?
Yes, of course.
What's the temperature they cook at?
I have no idea. I've never been to any of them.
Dreamland is cooking well over 300, almost 400. All of them are cooking much hotter. And in fact, in Memphis, most barbecue joints, Memphis is a great center of American barbecue. Most of those joints don't even use wood. It's just charcoal. Not barbecue? You go down there. You go to Alabama. You go to Tuscaloosa. You walk into Dreamland with all those guys in their red jerseys, and you tell them that ain't barbecue. I double dog dare.
Man, there'll be a fist fight, and I'm not going to come out on the winning end.
That's barbecue. It's a big umbrella, and it encompasses a broad range of styles. In Smitty's in Lockhart, and most of the great brisket joints in Texas, they get those briskets done in 8 hours or so. They haven't got 12, 14, 16 hours to cook them. They got a business to run. Oh, but it's good. It's good brisket. I can't cook it that good.
But isn't there then a difference between for-profit barbecue, people that don't have the time, versus the people that are allotting this quote-unquote proper amount of time? The barbecue is done when it's done, and you just sit there and feed your offset firebox or throw a couple handfuls of charcoal in just to make sure everything is up to snuff temperature-wise and fuel-wise while you suck back frosty cold ones.
Well, I guess there's a difference, but it's still barbecue. And that's my point here, is that it's a big word with many different subcategories, and people who go around saying, you're not barbecuing, you're grilling. I used to be the wine critic for the Washington Post. I used to be the wine critic for the Chicago Tribune. I used to publish a magazine about. I left that world behind because it's so full of snobby. I don't want to use the word. Barbecue folks can start to sound that way. Let's just let folks come on in, open the doors. And the fact is, from a culinary, from a historical, and from a linguistic, let's talk about the linguistic standpoint. The definition of words is done by semanticists, linguistics, lexicographers. Common use is a major part of what forms a definition. You go out in the street and ask people, what's the last thing you had on a barbecue? And they're going to say, oh, man, I barbecued burgers the other night. They were fantastic. Right. I did steak the other night. That's common use. 9 out of 10 people do not sign into this low and slow, indirect, smoked cooking is barbecue.
But isn't that like mandating our American children to have to learn how to speak Spanish? Just because everybody else is wrong doesn't mean that they're right. We don't have to conform for the people that are wrong, Craig. That's wrong in itself.
No, we don't have to conform with people who are right if we don't want to.
No, well, that's ridiculous. Why would you go around being wrong on purpose?
All right, let me ask you something. What are the 4 meats they cook at a KCBS competition?
Chicken, ribs, pork, and beef.
How do they cook the chicken most of the time?
Most of the time, it's done at more than higher traditional barbecue temperatures.
Actually, most of them right nowadays, aren't they braising the meat first? They put it in this big tub
Pan.
with butter,
Yeah.
and they braise it. It's just bubbling away, and they're just softly poaching it, if you will.
Well,
and then they take it out and they throw it over. So the Kansas City Barbecue Society, the holy temple of American barbecue, 25% of the meat they cook isn't barbecue.
Well, I think in this particular case, Craig, that competition barbecue would be better left out of this conversation because of how out of the scope of the norm they're actually doing.
Let's leave competition barbecue out. Let's leave history out. Let's leave semantics out. And let's leave culinary definitions out. What's left?
What's left is who's right and who's wrong. And I know I'm not
you're
wrong.
You're always right. You the man. I'm with you, pal.
All right, Craig, let's go ahead and let's add a call to this.
Get in the way.
That's right. Craig, let's go ahead and add a call. Who's on the line?
It's Phil White in Huntsville, Greg. How you doing?
Hey, Phil, how are you tonight? Craig, I'm sorry. Phil, what would you like to add to the conversation? We're on with Meathead Goldwyn, by the way.
Say again?
I said, what would you like to add to the conversation, Phil? You're on with Meathead Goldwyn.
Well, I just heard him talking about Dreamlands in Alabama.
Yeah.
And I'm in Alabama.
Huntsville, Alabama.
And I don't work Huntsville, Alabama, by the way.
Right.
And I don't wear that maroon jacket he's talking about, okay? But I will say this. Dreamland is a nightmare. That's some of the toughest ribs I've ever tried to eat in my life. And, yeah, they cook it at 300 or 400 degrees. They might not cook it for 30, 45 minutes at that temperature. But if you want to, Big Bob Gibson's, for instance, they cook what Greg was talking about, low and slow, at their restaurant.
The right way.
Their pork, their brisket, their ribs. They do bump the temperatures up on their chicken. But the traditional barbecue, like Greg was talking about a while ago, the restaurants here in Alabama that I've ate at, if they have good business and good barbecue, they're no higher than $275.
All right, there you go. You have it straight from Phil's mouth. Craig, react to that.
Well, I didn't. You notice none of my discussion included quality. I didn't say that good barbecue has to be cooked at a certain temperature, has to be cooked a certain way. This is not an issue of quality. If you want to argue quality, I'm on your side, Greg. Low and slow, closed environment. Let's get that wood involved. I just want to tell folks that you can't go around saying that ain't barbecue, because it is. It's just a big word, and you can't redefine a word that, George Washington, founder of the country, said he was off to go to a barbecue. And he went to barbecue. It's in his diaries. 1789, I think, was the reference date. I can check it. It's on my website. If you go to my website, AmazingRibs.com, and look on, you're laughing, I can see your picture. You can, and click on blog. I've got all of this information documented. But he went to a barbecue. I guarantee you he was cooking on a spit above ground, open air, and it was all wood. It bore no resemblance. It doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. I'm just trying to tell you what the reality of the definition of the word barbecue is from a historical, culinary, and lexicographic definition.
Is that a word, Craig?
I think I made it up.
I think so. That's right. You got to be kidding me. Lexicographic. That sounds like something that I would say.
Linguistic. Lexicography. Is lexicographic?
I don't know. We got T-shirts that are going to be made, I think.
Pornographic, lexicographic.
It's all the same stuff.
It's all the same stuff. You see, that's another issue. Look, I just peg everything at 225. That's my favorite temp. I cook like you guys do. But I just want folks to understand. And I think, we talk about KCBS and the Memphis in May people and whatever they call themselves nowadays. And we want to invite more people in this world. We want to teach more people different methods of cooking. And if you go around telling them, oh, you're not a barbecue cook, it turns folks off. Artie Davis has even written about this in the bullshit. Let's open the doors. Let's not start. It's just snobbery. I've seen it in the wine world, and we don't need it in the barbecue world.
He is Meathead Goldwyn. Meathead, I want you to hang through the break here real quick, and then I'm going to ask you, what the hell is this? I'm going to ask you a question. Joe Bees. I'm going to ask you a question about grilling when we come back from the other side of the break. So just go ahead and hang tight. Grab a beer if you would like, or two, or three, or wine. Refresh your wine there. And we will come back right after this. You're listening to the Barbecue Central show right here on the Barbecue Central Radio Networks. We'll be back with Meathead Goldwyn right after this. Hang on.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio show.
The future of barbecue is already here at thebarbecueguru.com. From the amazing guru that monitors and controls the temperatures of any charcoal, wood, or electric pit to the Caldera Tallboy knockdown smoker. Yes, it breaks down and stores flat, yet it's still a robust, sturdy, portable cooker and smokehouse. It also serves as an efficient temperature-controlled convection oven using wood or charcoal. The Tallboy is designed to fit all catering pans and can be used as a warming oven. You can cook in any style you choose. Make ribs, chicken, jerky, vegetables, smoked cheese, whatever you want. Take it to KCBS competitions and unload it from the trunk of your car. TheBarbecueGuru.com is where you'll find the Caldera 3-Bay Caterer. It's stainless steel and uses charcoal or sterno for chafing purposes. And it doubles as a 3-bay sink or wash station with hot water and knocks down in seconds with no tools required for transportation and storage. The future of barbecue is here at thebarbecueguru.com. That's www.thebbqguru.com or call 1-800-288-GURU.
Get in the smoke. Call 877-448-0433 to get on the air. Now, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. 37 past the hour. This portion of the show brought to you by D-Dogs Barbecue, now offering free shipping on all orders at ddogsbbq.com. Also offering two new products, a Texas-style barbecue sauce and a jalapeno rib glaze. Did I happen to mention the free shipping? Because I know I just did. So go ahead and order 50 tons, and Darren pays for all of the shipping. Rush over to ddogsbbq.com. Get some today. You'll be happy that you did. And by the way, we all know that D-Dog's barbecue rub is better than ketchup. All right, rejoining Craig Goldwyn, a.k.a. Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. We were having an inspired discussion about what's barbecue and how to define it properly and all that good stuff. So, Craig, when we were coming back now from the break, I wanted to ask you one more thing, and I guess transitioning out of what barbecue is, what it isn't, and who we're offending or not offending. But as we look at the other side of this venue, that being the grilling portion, when somebody says they had a great barbecued burger, or as you would put it, a great barbecued steak, is that wrong then? You're dealing with higher temperatures, you're dealing with direct heat source. It really seems to be perhaps less of a confusing way of cooking.
Well, let's establish. On the masthead of my website, I say there are no rules in the dining room or the bedroom. It ain't wrong to call it barbecue. Technically, again, from a culinary standpoint, it is grilling. Grilling being high heat cooking. Now, I don't know where the dividing line is between high heat and medium heat and low heat, whether it's 225, 226, 230.2 or what, but, we'll call high heat cooking grilling. That's fine. Grilling being a form of barbecue. That's my premise. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't throw a 2-inch thick prime Allen Brothers ribeye in my smoker at 225 and load her up with hickory and let her sit there for 5 hours. I suppose that what I'd come out would be tasty, but not my preferred way to cook ribeye.
So, but in your estimation, grilling is barbecue, barbecue is grilling. You can absolutely use these terms interchangeably.
No.
No.
Squares are rectangles. Rectangles are not squares. This now going back to high school geometry. Grilling is barbecue. Grilling is a subset of barbecue. Open pit is a subset of barbecue. Barbacoa is a subset of barbecue. Barbecue is the umbrella under which many cooking styles fit. Barbecue is not grilling. You understand the difference?
All right.
Grilling is not the umbrella under which barbecue fits. Barbecue is the umbrella under which grilling fits.
Barbecue is the all-encompassing, omnipotent way of cooking.
Which is why on Barbecue Central radio show, we're going to be talking about grilling steaks. Because it's okay. It's all meat. It's all fire. It's all good.
It's outdoor live fire cooking at its best, and it's Meathead Goldwyn from AmazingRibs.com. So a few other items that we can talk about. And by the way, that was inspired conversation, Meathead, and I appreciate that. Probably not a lot of people figure that this type of conversation could come from a guy named Meathead. Where does that even come from? Where do you get Meathead?
Well, I am a bit of a meathead. I mean, Daddy called me meathead after watching the Archie Bunker show back in the 60s. I'm an old fart. I'm 61 years old. And back in those days, I had long hair and beads and bell bottoms. And so Dad called me meathead. And when I got into barbecue, it just became a convenient handle, and it sticks. You know, some people think it's weird, but I am a bit of a meathead anyhow. I'm not always right.
All right, so we have two different paths that we can take. I'll leave it up to you how you want to finish out the conversation with our remaining 5 minutes or so. We can talk about the reverse sear method of cooking steaks or beef or meat or whatever you want to do in general, or we can talk about the overall opinions and summations of season 2 of Barbecue Pitmasters. So you can pick which one you want to do, and we'll go from there.
Oh, let's talk about steaks. I think Pitmasters is been worked over so well, and you've covered it really thoroughly on your broadcast. We've talked about it on the air before, and Pitmasters. I would love to talk about steak because it's a favorite topic of mine. I just came back from Blog World, a convention about blogging in Vegas, and it was at Mandalay Bay, and I went to Strip Steak, a restaurant in Mandalay Bay. And I interviewed the chef. It's owned by a guy named Michael Mina, their chef Chuck. I took the tour of the restaurant. An amazing place, and they do something with steaks I'd never seen before, and it makes huge sense, and it makes complete dovetail into the concept of reverse sear and also sous vide, which we can talk about later too. They take their thick steaks, 1.5 inches or bigger, and they put them in clarified butter. Now, clarified butter is butter that has had all the water and solids separated out, so it's pure fat. Butter has water in it, and that's a key factor that makes it different than other fats that we cook with. And they clarify the butter, submerge the steaks in it at 117 degrees Fahrenheit. And the steaks sit there for about 30 minutes. And slowly, the whole slab of meat rises to 117 Fahrenheit. So the interior and the exterior are all the same temperature. Mm-hmm. They pull it out, and they throw it on a scorching hot mesquite grill. Pure wood, pure mesquite, right on top of the coals, and burn the snot out of the exterior. Now, they don't burn them. They take them as dark as you can humanly get it without turning them black. And what they're doing is the key concept of cooking great steaks. They've learned that you cook the inside and the outside differently. And they get a steak that is bumper to bumper, medium rare, edge to edge, medium rare, perfect, tender, juicy. And then the exterior is dark and crispy and flavorful from the Maillard effect and caramelization, all those great chemical things that happen with amino acids and stuff. So they get absolutely the perfect steak. The butter, incidentally, has very little effect on the flavor. It's the concept of cooking the interior low and slow and the exterior hot and fast to get that dark color. And it's a brilliant steak, and it's a brilliant concept. And there are ways to adapt this concept at home without having to go to the grocery and buy 4 pounds of butter and melting it down. And that's by using indirect heat. And we can talk about more about that if you want in the steak segment coming up.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I what I'll do is let's take a Weber kettle, easiest thing in the world to deal with. Push all your charcoal off to one side.
Right.
Not a lot of it. Small amount of charcoal. Bank it all off to one side. Get it ashed over white, and take your steaks. Now, this works best with a thick steak, 1.5 inch or thicker. Thin steaks is another issue, and it's like a whole different piece of meat. You got to treat thick steaks and thin steaks differently. But you take a thick steak and you put it on the indirect side, put the lid on, and let it slowly warm up, just like it was in that clarified butter. So it's all the same temp. Bring it up. Use a really good thermocouple thermometer, like a Thermapen, and get it down into the center and get it up to about 115, 110, 115. And then when it hits that temp, move it over to the hot part of the grill, as hot as it can be, blazing hot. In fact, I even take my Weber kettle, the bottom grate, and raise it up with bricks so the coals are like 1 inch below the surface. Put them right on top of those hot coals and then sear the exterior. Now, everybody's got to understand, when you sear a steak, you are not sealing in juices. This has been pretty well proven that it's not closing off little tiny holes and keeping juices in. Searing a steak is just a way to change the chemistry of the surface, caramelize the sugars, darken the amino acids with a process called the Maillard effect, and create that brown flavor. Browning things is really good tasting. And when you do this, you get bumper to bumper, even color on the center. Normally, when you throw a big steak over high heat, you get a dark exterior, and then right below the surface, you get a layer of brown. Below that, you get a layer of tan. Below that, you get a layer of pink. And below that, in the center, you get this little tiny 1/4 inch band of perfectly cooked medium rare meat. When you do it indirect, 2 stages, cook the interior first, then move it over to direct heat, exterior next, you get bumper to bumper perfect medium rare.
Meathead Goldwyn joining us here, telling us how to cook an absolutely wonderful colored steak from top to bottom. Is it something that you think is going to catch on, Meathead, or is this something that only the true steak connoisseur or somebody that's looking to really pursue the perfectly cooked steak is going to even bother trying to do?
I'm not a soothsayer, but I'm on a mission from God to teach as many people as I can. I'd like to see people learn. Well, I think the most important concept in grilling is to learn how to use a 2-zone cooking system. Whatever your grill you got, whether it's a Weber kettle, you get all the heat off to one side and the other side a different temp. I like to keep one at 225. That's a great temp for doing ribs, for doing pulled pork, whatever. Get one temp, one side low, one side hot, and you can move things. We talked about barbecue and the definition of barbecue. What do they call barbecue in Southern California? Tri-tip.
Right.
Tri-tip is an ornery cut of meat from the rear end of the steak, and if you cook it hot and fast, you're not going to be able to chew it. But a good way to cook tri-tip is to start it on the indirect side, get it cooked nice and evenly through, move it over to the hot side, sear and brown the exterior. In Santa Maria, they call that barbecue, by the way.
Right.
There's no lid on a Santa Maria barbecue.
No.
No?
And it's only red oak.
Only red oak. That's it. Now, is that barbecue or not? All right, well, that's another topic. But they crank that baby up and down on a winch,
right?
And they control the heat that way. Controlling heat is the secret to all forms of barbecue and grilling. Is controlling your heat, knowing what your temperature is. The most important thing any barbecue cook can have is a good thermometer for both the oven and for the meat, and understanding how to control heat, understanding the thermodynamics of cooking. I've written a whole article on my website on the thermodynamics of cooking, what the difference is between radiant heat and convection heat and so on. But gaining control of heat, because it's not like when you cook indoors. You got an oven inside, and your oven indoors has a thermostat on it. You set it for 250, and it goes to 250, and it hangs in that general area for as long as you set the timer for. You don't have that. You got to do that yourself. You got to gain control of the heat. And yeah, I think two-zone cooking is the technique people got to learn most of all.
All right, Craig, I'm sorry, Meathead, one quick question coming in from Clint in New York asking about the two-zone cook. Room temperature or fridge temperature on the meat before the two-zone cook?
Room temp, because that's actually a form of cooking. You bring it out of the fridge, it's at 40 degrees or below. The center is cold. And I was mistaken. All these years, I thought, okay, let me take my meat and freeze it. And then I throw it on the grill, and the center, because I froze it, was going to be icy cold, and it will take time to cook. Mm-hmm. And I thought this was a great way to go about it. But it's absolutely the backwards way to do it. You take it out of the fridge, let it sit around at room temp for 30 minutes. It's safe. A solid muscle meat is safe at room temp for 30 minutes. The interior then goes from 40 degrees to 65 or 70 degrees. That's a 30-degree differential in temperature, and you haven't put it to the fire yet. Then you move it out to the fire. It takes very little time to get it up to 115. Then you move it over the high heat, and bingo, you've got your exterior the way you want it. The other thing I learned is we love grill marks. They look beautiful, but the real key is to get the whole surface the color of that grill mark, because that grill mark is dark brown, crunchy, and flavorful, and all the spaces in between those grill marks are tan. We want the whole surface dark brown. Go look at my article on cooking steaks. I've got some pictures of beautiful steaks. You want everything as dark mahogany as you can get on the exterior without going black. Don't go black. Black is carbon. Black tastes bad. And there's some research that associates carbonized meat with cancer.
Meathead Goldwyn is breaking it all down for us. He is the founder of AmazingRibs.com. He's been wine critics and he's been restaurant critics. He did the Huffington Post column for Barbecue Pitmasters of Season 2. And, Craig, I always appreciate the time. And, again, AmazingRibs.com is the website. And Meathead will be looking for you again soon.
Greg, it is a pleasure to be with you. It always is.
All right, appreciate it. There he is. Meathead. AmazingRibs.com, again, is his website. Lots to react to. Shaking the very foundations. Shaking my camera. Of barbecue and grilling. So barbecue is the umbrella and everything else falls underneath it. Pit cooking and ground cooking and offset smokers and blah, 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 blah. All right, your chance to win a Luftleiter last time, 877-448-0433. Harry Carey coming back. Stand by.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show.
Forget going from site to site to get all of your barbecue and grilling supplies and make your first and final stop at fredsmusicandbarbecue.com. In the market for a new barbecue pit, we have all the big name brands like Big Green Egg and more. As a matter of fact, Fred's is staffed by eggheads and carries all the parts and accessories for the Big Green Egg. More of a pellet head, you say? Fred's is the pellet grill superstore with grills in stock from Traeger, Green Mountain, and Country Smokers from Louisiana Grills. Fred's also carries smokers from Cook Shack, Bradley, and Weber, as well as a full line of charcoal grills. And once you're outfitted with your new smoker or grill, you'll find absolutely everything you need to make your barbecue or grilling experience a success. Fred is also the creator and distributor of Tasty Licks barbecue products, including their great line of rubs, spices, and sauces. You gotta try them. And you can also get your hands on a full lineup of marinades, accessories, lump charcoal, wood chips, pellets, chunks, and even the great grilling tools from Stephen Reichlin of Barbecue U fame. Check out Fred on the web at fredsmusicandbarbecue.com or check out their fully stocked showroom in beautiful Shillington, PA.
Introducing Cosmos Q. Cosmos Q injections and marinades use only the finest ingredients, and they mix easily, never clotting or caking. From our beef injection to our pork injection, you're guaranteed to wow your friends, family, and judges. And don't forget to check out our Cosmos Chicken Soak for that moist and tender chicken you're gonna love.
And don't forget about Cosmo's new pork soak and rubs.
You can find us at CosmosQ.com and select retailers across the nation. For quality injections, marinades, and rubs, it's Cosmos Q.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
Hi, everybody. Harry Carey here. I'm here early. I'm so excited. I couldn't stay away. Okay, so I don't have anything to say as far as sponsors, or at least that son of a bitch didn't leave me anything to read. I don't know why I didn't. Anyway, it's my segment, so let's go ahead and play the 4-segment free-for-all, okay? All right. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Hi, everybody, Harry Carey here. Hey, 4-segment free-for-all. Your chance to win, your last chance to win a Luftleiter. This is going to be it, I'm sorry. All right. I'm going to ask you either barbecue questions or sports questions, your choice. You have 5 seconds to answer each question, culminating in what could be one of the highest prizes ever, that being a Luftleiter. All right, let's go to area code 913. Name and where you're calling from.
Hi, this is Dave in Kansas City.
Hey, Dave, how are you?
I'm doing great, Harry. How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, you look good on vocal.
Oh, thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. Pardon my eyeballs. I'm very excited. Okay, Dave, do you want to play the game?
Yeah, let's play.
Do you want barbecue questions or sports questions?
Barbecue.
All right, Dave. Earlier in the program, Greg was interviewing Meathead Goldwyn. Can you name his website?
AmazingRibs.com.
That's right. AmazingRibs.com is the answer. Second question, Dave. Can you name the process that he was describing when cooking a steak? It sounded phenomenal.
You talking about the searing?
Yes. What was it called?
Well, searing, and then he was clarifying it in butter earlier.
There's a name for it, Dave. Give me the name.
Searing.
Sorry, Dave.
Big stuff out of here.
That's not the right answer. We go to area code 530. Name and where you're calling from.
Hey, it's John from Chico.
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm doing well.
All right, John, you want to play the game?
I certainly do.
Would you like barbecue questions or sports questions, John?
Barbecue questions.
All right, John, here we go. Earlier in the program, Greg was interviewing the founder. I'm sorry, he was talking to Meathead Goldwyn. Name the website that he owns.
That would be AmazingRibs.com.
That's right, AmazingRibs.com is the right answer. John, you're 1 for 1. Second question. John, there was a specific reference made to searing that Craig was talking about regarding steaks. Can you name that process?
That would be a reverse sear.
Reverse sear is correct. One more question, and you've won an $80 Luftleiter. John, are you excited?
Oh, I'm going to tinkle myself.
Oh, my goodness. You're going to tinkle yourself. Stay away from me. I've been known to fist fight when people tinkle on me. All right, John, last question. John, here's the last question for you. Name the apparatus or the device that your meat sits on right above the heat source on a grill or barbecue.
It'd be just like this show. It's a great.
That's right. John is the winner. John, you win an $80 Luftleiter plus $758,000 in shipping, and it's all free. It doesn't get any better than that, does it, John?
Oh, no, it doesn't.
All right, John, all you need to do is send us an email, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com, and we'll get it right out to you.
Thank you very much, my friend.
All right, thanks for calling in tonight, John. Beat it. All right, I'm late. Am I late? I think I'm late. Okay. Thanks for calling in tonight, everybody. Have a great one, and we'll see you next week. Harry Carey racing away. Thanks, Harry. Appreciate that, buddy. Good job. Good job. All right, thanks to Craig Goldwyn. We call him Meathead, and you should too. That's his name, Meathead. So, visit AmazingRibs.com for crying out loud. Check out all of his articles. You'll be happy you did. Also, looks like we are congratulating John for winning the Luftleiter, and that wraps up the last week that you can win a Luftleiter, unless we can somehow extend it. We'll see. There you go. Stand by for the steak roundtable after this. It's the Barbecue Central radio show. Stick around. We'll be right back. Hang on.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central radio show.